What's up, my dudes and duets? Welcome to another episode of SportsCy. I'm over here chilling in the gym. My hips have been feeling a little bit tight, all this jumping that I've been trying to do, but I also want to make sure that I see how far my verticals come. So, hey, what's up, Tom?
Hey, man.
Hey, got Tal over there. It is kind of dark, but got Tal over there, got Hassan over there, and another one of my homies just chilling. But anyways, today is going to be a relaxed day, and all I'm going to be working on is just making sure that I'm nice and loose so I can jump a little bit higher. But before I test that, I just want to see how much of an effect my tight hips make on my vertical jump. So we're first going to test that.
Are they the stretches and stuff?
So the way things are looking right now, it seems as though I'm actually have increased maybe just 1 inch so far. So the training is still really good, but I want to see just what effect it does when I roll out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach for a foam roller, and then I'm just going to go over all the different types of stretches that you need to be doing if you're trying to improve your vertical jump. Mobility is very important if you're trying to increase your vertical jump, and we're going to see just the effect that it does. All right, just to get things started, first thing you're gonna need is a rumble roller. I like use a rumble roller, but if you just have a standard foam roller, it's gonna do the job just right. So the first thing that I do is I roll out my quad, just making sure that I'm putting my body weight over it so I can just release any tight areas. And this is gonna hurt a little bit to some of you guys, but you really wanna do this so you can loosen up. Bend my knee and I start to curl in my leg so that I can get more of a stretch from my quads, and then also I turn to the side to get a little bit more release to make it easier on my knee. Once I'm done doing that, the next thing that I do is I start to stretch out my IT band. So I straighten the leg, and your IT band is going to be alongside your leg. So you just lift your leg and just roll over it in the same way, and this is going to be just as painful. Next thing that I do is I roll out my Tibialis Anterior, which is basically your shin muscle. Really, it ain't that complicated. Just bend your knee and then just roll over it. This one is really gonna hurt, as you can tell from the look on my face. And then after that, I just take it to the calves. The calves can be a little bit easier, making sure that when you're doing the calves, you're rotating your ankles so that you get every muscle that's involved with your ankle mobility. After that, I do a yoga pose, an upward facing dog. Is that it helps your abs, and so your lower abs get a good stretch, and this is very important if you're trying to get that full extension for the vertical jump. Once I'm done with that, the next step, I do these things that are called seated internal hip rotations. So I'm going back and forth, back and forth. You want to be seated first. Next thing that I do is kneeling hip stretches. Now these kneeling hip stretches, sometimes I see people do them completely wrong. The first thing you want to do is make sure that the front foot is about 90 degrees, and you don't want to seesaw forward into it, because then you're just getting more of a hamstring stretch. What you're trying to stretch is your quad. So what you do is you're going to squeeze the glute on the knee that's kneeling down, and then you're just going to push your hip forward without leaning forward, and you're gonna feel it go all the way up and down. And if this is not effective enough, the next thing that you can do also for your hips is do the pigeon stretch. Pigeon stretch, you've seen many people do it. With this one, you want to make sure that if you have the mobility for it, not to push yourself beyond what your mobility can do. So you're gonna bend the leg, and then you're gonna put the back leg behind you, and you're gonna lean over and just breathe out. This is very, very important to loosen out the hips and glutes. And to go back to that hip stretch, if you actually want an even more effective kneeling hip stretch, you can also go right over here like I do and grab a resistance band, set up a pad, and then eventually put your knee down. And now when you put the band, you're gonna put it up as high as possible near your butt, and then you're gonna kneel down. This is gonna create some resistance pulling you in while you're staying back, and you're gonna get a nice, good hip stretch. These really hurt, so guys, make sure you're not picking a band that's too heavy. Well, that does it for that quick stretch. Now let's see what that does for our vertical jump. So it actually makes a difference. Y'all want to see that? So I was able to increase that much. So right over there is the first jump. Right over there is the second jump. And all that is to show you, what you must know is that it's important to work on that hip mobility. That hip mobility is going to be so critical in your vertical jump. I mean, the best way that I can explain it that I learned is that if you're ever jumping, it's like, and your hips are tight, it's the equivalent of having your hands in your pockets as you're trying to jump. So it's hard to understand, but let me show y'all. Picture you're trying to jump like this. See how that's tight? So all that happens is once your quad is really tight, it starts to pull you in. So like when you try to jump all the way up, you're not able to get that full extension and get all the way up. So you guys out there, it's really important. And if you feel like that stretch doesn't help, I also showed you a different way that you can use the resistance band to get that hip flexor, which is your quad which is mainly your quad muscle, just to be more extended, and you can get a better stretch that way and feel looser. Again, it's important also to stretch the glutes. Make sure to also roll out your calves, just because all of that is going to affect your vertical jump. For me, I was starting to have a little bit of tightness in my hamstring, and it also led to my calves, so I was starting to have a little bit of a problem. But now that I've rolled it out, I feel much better, and as you can tell, the results speak for themselves. So that does it for me here. Hopefully you were able to understand just how much your hip mobility affects your vertical jump. I was able to show you that after I rolled out my hamstring, my hips, my quads, I was able to jump just a little bit higher, and these are some stretches that you can do. I also even threw in things that you can do with the resistance band that you can also use if you have access to a gym. But that does it for me here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe because it's cool on SportsCy. If you're already a doer, I appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all next time. And if you're an athlete that needs more specified helps, or you need some mobility drills, shoot me an email at shemafitness@gmail.com, and I'll holla at you later. Thanks for checking me out.